Basically, I mean, I was born and bred in the UK, but my family are from West Africa, Sierra Leone. My mother grew up there, and my father actually from the Gambia. So yeah, I'm a West African really at heart, and but like I said, I grew up in the UK and in Europe all my life really. Earliest memories of cooking certainly I would say was my late mum, encouraging me to go to the markets with her back in Southeast London. Just carry the bags, carry the fish bag, carry the rice bag. So I think that was my first sort of foray into sort of food as such, really. And then from there, my mum always used to sort of do a lot of cooking at home, and I would always help her sort of, washing up and peeling onions. So I think my mum was the biggest influence in terms of me cooking. And then from there, obviously, when I got to school and secondary school, I started to show more of an interest, in cooking, and obviously went from there. But certainly, my mum at home was the first, sort of person who sort of instilled into me trying to get involved with food. Certainly massively. I think at the time you probably don't realize how big of an impact, but looking back on it now, I think if I hadn't got involved in food at that age and found that I actually enjoyed it, I'm not sure if I would be doing it now really. So I certainly believe those trips to the market certainly had a big influence on me, because I remember vividly after a few times of going on those trips, I'll try and create my own dishes at home, basically, on the weekend. So it certainly started from there, definitely. So it had a very big part to play, in ultimately my career today. So, my first qualification I probably was from secondary school, where I just basically got a grade C in home economics. Then I went to Westminster College in Vincent Square, which is a very reputable, college for catering, and I did City and Guilds level 1 and 2, and then in my third year I got like a chef diploma. Then after that, those are my basic sort of qualifications. And after that, I then started to go into the industry. And my first job was with the world famous Raymond Blanc in Oxfordshire, where I stayed for a number of years, for 3 years in fact. And then I went on to work for Gordon Ramsay in his first restaurant called the Aubergine, and I stayed there for 4.5 years. After that, I took a little bit of time out, just sort of, a bit of time to myself, a few months away, and then I went overseas and did a few sort of stages, we call them. It's a bit of like a training. I went to France and I spent a bit of time out there, about a month or so, just working in various kitchens out there, just getting some experience. And then I came back to the UK, and then I went to work at the Gavroche with Michel Roux, the Roux brothers, who've done a lot for cooking in this country. And then from there, I went and worked with a gentleman called Simon Rogan in Croydon. It's a place called Addington Palace. After that, I started to enter some competitions, and I entered the Roux Scholarship competition at that time. I ended up winning it, lucky enough. And then from there, I went overseas for the first time to be a head chef, which was in Barbados. I went to the Sandy Lane Hotel. I stayed there for 2 years, and then I came back to the UK, and then I went to Dubai after that for a further 2.5 years to work in a hotel out there called the Royal Mirage, owned by the one and only company. That was for 2.5 years. After that, I decided to come back home because I've been, away for about sort of 5 years out of the UK, and I thought it was time to sort of come back and continue my career back in mainstream Europe. So I went to work at the Ritz Hotel as a head chef under John Williams, an executive chef who's got great stature and well respected in trade. So that's was a Ritz Hotel that's based in Green Park. So I stayed there for 3 years, which is really great for me, working in such a grand hotel. After that, again, I sort of took a bit of time off, about a sort of a month or so. I like to do that sort of recuperate and sort of reassess, basically, what I really want to do. And then I went to work at a place called The Boundary, which is based in Shoreditch, a nice sort of boutique hotel. And during my time there, again, I entered some more competitions in which I ended up winning the National Chef of the Year, that particular year, which was 2011. And then after working at The Boundary, I'm actually not sure where I went to after that, actually, really sure, to be honest with you. Actually, D&D, excuse me, thank you very much. After working at The Boundary, I went to the D&D group, and I worked at the restaurant called Le Ponte de la Tour, which is based on Tower Bridge. Really grand restaurant. It's been open for over sort of 20-25 years, and it's got a lot of history. So it's something I really wanted to do in my career. So I went to the Ponte de la Tour for just under 2 years. and then after that, I find myself trotting over to the Don, where I am now. I think it's something that I have sort of, thought about, in the past. I think during my career, I think sometimes I just thought it was just going to happen organically, just because of where I'd worked, but I realized it just doesn't happen that way. You got to sometimes chase these things, and you need to make them happen. So, going forward, I certainly wouldn't rule out that opportunity. I think if it certainly presented itself to me, I certainly believe that's something that I will take on board. Do I have the ambition to have my restaurant? Probably more of a question. I would say yes, but I think it has to be the right circumstances. I think ultimately for me, it's all about enjoyment. If I enjoy my cooking, I'm a lot more sort of productive. I think ultimately, having my own business or being part of something that I can call my own, I think it's something that certainly does appeal to me, especially as I get older and I have probably more responsibility. So, in a nutshell, yes, it's something I think I would certainly consider if all the parameters and the opportunities were there for me to do so. I suppose I would agree with that. Really, I suppose most of my cooking and my experiences have not been based around African cuisine. So I think you're right to obviously term it in that way. So yes, I am a chef who's African, but I think even though most of my catering career has been based around sort of European food, especially French food, I think more and more now, I think I'm trying to tap into my heritage and trying to, one, maybe not so much incorporate into my cooking, but every opportunity that I have to promote that, I certainly think it's important for me to do that. I think it's great. I think it's been something that's probably has been a long time coming. I think African cuisine, it covers a wide spectrum. To be honest with you, and I think more and more now, people are paying more attention to it. I think African chefs in general are being more confident now. I think in talking about African cuisine and the commodities, the ingredients, the type of food, the type of flavors that you have. I mean, even now, I think recently opened up a restaurant in Mayfair. I can't remember the name of it now. I think it's a West African based restaurant, and to find a West African restaurant in Mayfair many years ago, you probably would have asked yourself, well, are you sure? So I think obviously it shows how much it's come a long way since then. And there are lots of talented chefs out there who have a West African heritage, who probably are not well known or not known at all really, or don't have the opportunity to probably to talk about their heritage and talk about that level of cuisine. But I think in this country we're becoming more diverse. Well, it's a very diverse country, but I think food in general is becoming a lot more diverse. People are more adventurous about trying different things, and I think ultimately it's only a matter of time before African cuisine started to make some waves in the industry. It may take a bit more time than others, but I think slowly but surely it's getting there. I think we can continue to just, as chefs in general, just continue to sort of talk about our food and our experiences with African cuisine as much as possible, and talk about how great it is. But I think also the media, has an incredible role to play, whether we like it or not. I think all these programs on TV, and there's so many of them, cooking programs, not many of them I think tap into African cuisine per se. So I think if they could get on board and showcase chefs with that type of heritage behind them, and the chefs themselves doing some dishes on these programs, it can really get to a wider audience. So I think the media has a very big role to play, and we as chefs, I think there's only so much we can do ultimately, because obviously we're cooking these sort of dishes within our restaurants, and using these sort of ingredients, but no one knows about them. It's very difficult for it to sort of spread. So I think the media has an incredible role to play. Honestly, I probably don't prepare, African dishes at home. I think mainly because they're quite time consuming. I probably haven't got so much time on my hands like I used to. And as opposed, my mum used to cook lovely things like okra soup and cassava, and food stuff that I really love, and I'm not really very good at cooking those. So I just kind of like stick to the basics, maybe some fried plantain, that's probably just about it. I can probably make a bit of granite soup. I can make a nice, you know, not too bad at okra soup. I'm not too bad at that, but again, I'm not really have a lot of time to make those really. But certainly the fried plantain and the okra pancakes that I kind of like created, kind of like works well. Typical hours of working. I think now is probably the best I've ever had it in terms of hours. Yeah, not that I've been someone who's ever complained about working long hours because it's what I love to do. I love cooking. It's my passion. I understand when I signed up for this industry what it's about. But here we only work Monday to Friday. It's Monday to Friday restaurant. So generally speaking, I'm here pretty much Monday to Friday. And on average, I'll probably say I'm here, a good 10 hours a day, really, which by our standards of hospitality. Is pretty decent, really. Relax. I have two sons, both at the end of the spectrum. I've got a 3-month-old little boy, and I've got a 16-year-old son almost. So he likes to play. The oldest son likes to play a lot of basketball. So I like to, spend some time with him playing basketball. I like to keep myself fit. Just go to the gym. Just do some running. Just keep myself taking out a bit of swimming. So yeah, mainly just sort of relaxing with my family, some friends, just chilling out, playing a bit of sports. Really, I'm a big sports fan, so those are the kind of things that I do to sort of relax. I certainly will say I have a better work-life balance now. It's certainly better than it's ever been for a long time. I think in the past, I probably have neglected that. I've been so focused on trying to, get up the ladder and better myself. I haven't respected the fact that maybe other people need my time as well, and I've needed my time as well away from cooking. But now, I think the fact that obviously, we don't really work weekends. I can really focus a lot more on doing a great job as possible. During the week, knowing that I've got the weekends off. Yeah, most of the time, sort of, have some downtime and give my time to other people around me. So. And also, ultimately, I think I'm a lot more happier. I'm enjoying my cooking a lot more because I've got a bit more time on my hands. I think that's really very, very important. You can't just continue to work yourself, continuously, and assess where you may be going wrong and where you're making mistakes, and ultimately enjoying yourself. So definitely, I think I've got a much better work-life balance now. It would probably be the Caribbean. I've been to the Caribbean a couple of times, and every time I've been, I just find I can really sort of relax completely. I find the people there incredibly warm and welcoming, especially in Barbados, where I've worked and been a couple of times. So I certainly would say Barbados right now would be my number one, apart from my homeland Sierra Leone, obviously. To be honest with you, probably not enough. I've not been back home to Sierra Leone for 8 years now, 8, 10 years now, really, which really is too long. But I think going forward in the future is something that I want to certainly change. Is that I have some plans, hopefully one day to do something in Sierra Leone. So yeah, I've got to get back a bit more. Personally, again, it's something that I thought about quite a lot. I think, when I was, starting out, I don't recall seeing many role models really that I could really sort of look up to and say, right, I wanted to be like this particular person. I wanted to follow that particular route. Whether that was because, I didn't know what avenue to look for these people or not, I'm not really sure. But they weren't just staring me in the face like how maybe other chefs were really. And one of the reasons why I went to Raymond Block was because he was always around and you could always see him in magazines and papers, and you thought, well, this is where it's all at. But I think that has changed over the years now, and I would like to think that for any sort of young black person wanting to come in the industry, I would say go for it. You got to believe in yourself. I'd like to think maybe someone like myself might inspire people, and I say that in a very humble manner. Ultimately, but I'd say you gotta if you believe in yourself and you have a dream and you have a goal, you gotta put yourself in the right position and push yourself forward, because it can happen. And I think I'm a testament of that. Ultimately, I think I came from humble surroundings and humble beginnings, and I don't think I'm doing too badly. So it can be done.